The world went dark for me on a Tuesday. One moment I was on a construction site supervising a steel beam installation, the next a cacophony of shouting, a sickening crunch, and then nothing. The doctors called it cortical blindness, a result of trauma to the occipital lobe. My eyes were fine, they said, but the part of my brain that processed sight was broken. They gave me pamphlets on Braille and a white cane. They gave my wife, Clara, looks of deep, profound pity. Clara, my beautiful, vibrant Clara, became my rock. In those initial months of terrifying blackness, she was my sight. She described the color of the morning sky, guided my hand to my coffee cup, and read to me every night from my favorite novels. She rearranged the furniture to create clear paths for me, labeling the spice jars with puffy paint so I could feel the letters. "We'll get through this, Mark," she'd whisper, her voice a warm blanket in my cold, dark world. "I'm right here. I'll always be right here." I believed her. I clung to her words like a drowning man to a raft. Our love, I thought, was the one thing the accident couldn't take from me. It was a beacon in the endless night. About 6 months in, the first miracle happened. It wasn't a flash of light or a sudden return to form. It was a flicker, a faint, ghostly outline of the window frame against the morning light. I blinked, thinking it was a trick of my mind, a phantom sensation. But it happened again the next day, and the next. Slowly, painstakingly, my brain began to heal itself. Shapes emerged from the void, then muted colors, then details. It was like watching the world's slowest photograph develop. I didn't tell Clara. My first instinct was pure, unadulterated joy. I wanted to run to her, grab her, and shout that I could see her face again. But something held me back, a sliver of caution I couldn't explain. The doctors had been so certain, so final. What if this was temporary? I didn't want to give her false hope, to put her through that emotional roller coaster. So I waited. I kept my dark glasses on. I continued to use my cane, and I let her guide me. I decided to wait until I was sure, until my vision was stable, and then I would surprise her. It would be the greatest gift I could ever give her. My secret became a strange, silent observation deck. From behind my shaded glasses, I started to truly see my wife for the first time in a long time. At first, everything seemed normal, but as my vision sharpened, so did my awareness of things that felt off. It started with the scent of a cologne that wasn't mine, lingering in the hallway when she came home late from a work dinner. Then came the hushed phone calls, the way she'd quickly end a call or angle her phone away if I walked into the room. I could only hear her side, full of clipped, vague answers. "No, he's right here," she'd murmur. "I can't talk. I'll text you." Texting. She was always texting. The soft, incessant tap, tap, tap of her thumbs on the screen became the soundtrack to my evenings. When I'd ask who she was talking to, it was always just Sarah from accounting or my sister. But the smile on her face as she typed was a secret, private thing that had nothing to do with her sister or a coworker. It was a smile I hadn't seen directed at me in years. My improving sight, my secret weapon, became my personal hell. I could now see the fleeting expressions she thought were hidden. A roll of her eyes when I'd ask for help finding the TV remote. The impatient sigh when I'd accidentally knock something over. The way her face lit up when her phone buzzed, a light that was instantly extinguished when she looked at me. One evening, she came home with a new dress. She held it up for me. "It's a beautiful emerald green, honey," she said, her voice dripping with false enthusiasm. "Let me help you feel the fabric. It's silk." I reached out, my hand brushing against hers. But my eyes, hidden and sharp, saw the truth. The dress wasn't emerald green. It was a deep, seductive crimson, a color she knew I used to love on her. Why lie about something so trivial? The answer hit me like a physical blow. She wasn't describing it for me. She was describing it for someone else, practicing a lie. Or worse, she simply didn't care enough to tell the truth, because what difference did color make to a blind man? The conflict in my soul was a raging storm. Every day was a performance. I had to remember to stumble, to reach out for things I could perfectly see, to keep my gaze unfocused and distant. The man she thought I was, helpless, dependent, blind, was a prison I had built for myself. But it was also the only way to find out the truth. The final piece of the puzzle clicked into place a week before our 10th anniversary. She announced she was going on a work retreat for the weekend. "I'm so sorry, Mark," she said, her voice a perfect symphony of regret.
I tried to get out of it, but my boss is insisting. We'll celebrate our anniversary the moment I get back, I promise. That night, after she thought I was asleep, she took a call on the balcony. I crept to the door, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. My hearing had grown sharper in the absence of sight, a skill I hadn't lost. Her voice was a low whisper, but I heard every venomous word. "Don't worry, Leo," she cooed. "He bought the whole retreat story. The house will be ours all weekend. I can't wait." "No, he has no idea. He's just there. It's like taking care of a piece of furniture that occasionally talks. Leo." So he had a name. A piece of furniture. The words shattered what was left of my heart. The betrayal was no longer a suspicion. It was a certainty, cold and sharp. And in that moment, my grief curdled into a cold, hard resolve. She wasn't going on a retreat. She was bringing him here, into our home, into our bed, and I would be there to watch. The day of our anniversary arrived.
I spent the morning preparing, not for a celebration, but for a reckoning. Clara had left the day before, giving me a perfunctory kiss on the cheek. "I'll miss you so much," she'd lied. I knew she was just staying at a local hotel with him, waiting for the right time to bring him home. Around noon, I heard her key in the lock. "Mark, honey, I managed to come home early. Surprise," she called out, her voice sickly sweet. "Clara, that's wonderful," I called back from the living room, my voice carefully modulated to sound happy and unsuspecting. I sat on the couch, my dark glasses firmly in place, my cane resting beside me. I heard a second set of footsteps, heavier than hers. I smelled his cologne, the same one I'd smelled in our hallway for months. "Mark, this is my colleague Leo," Clara said, her voice tight. "Our retreat got cut short, and he was kind enough to give me a ride home." "A pleasure to meet you, Mark," a smug voice said. I could see him perfectly. Tall, handsome in a generic sort of way, with a condescending smirk plastered on his face. He looked at me the way one looks at a dog. "Clara's told me so much about how strong you've been." "Nice to meet you," I said, keeping my head turned towards the sound of his voice. The next hour was the longest of my life. They thought they were being subtle, their hands brushing, the footsie under the coffee table, the shared knowing glances. They talked to me, but around me, their conversation a coded dance of inside jokes. They moved with the brazen confidence of people who believed they were completely unobserved. Clara even had the audacity to ask me to get them drinks from the kitchen, and I saw Leo give her a lustful look as I carefully shuffled out of the room. When I returned, she had her phone out, sitting on the coffee table between them. She was showing him something, and they were both laughing quietly. This was it, the moment I had been waiting for. I set their drinks down, accidentally fumbling and sloshing a bit of water on the table. "Oh, clumsy me," I mumbled. As Clara and Leo were distracted, looking at the small spill, I reached down, my hand sweeping across the table as if searching for a napkin. My fingers closed around her phone. "Mark, what are you doing?" Clara asked, her voice sharp with annoyance. I didn't answer. I stood up, turned to face them, and slowly, deliberately, I took off my dark glasses. I blinked, letting my eyes adjust to the full light of the room. I watched the color drain from their faces. Clara's mouth fell open, a small, choked gasp escaping her lips. Leo just stared, his smug expression melting into pure, unadulterated shock. What is this?" Clara stammered. "Mark, you can't." "Can't what, Clara?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. I unlocked her phone. She hadn't even bothered with a passcode. Why would she need one? Her husband was blind. I opened her messages with Leo.
My eyes scanned the screen, the vile words confirming everything I already knew. I took a deep breath, and I began to read. "He's so pathetic, Leo, following me around like a lost puppy," I read aloud, my voice echoing in the silent room. Clara flinched as if I'd struck her. "Can't wait for this weekend. I need a real man. The blind act is getting so old." I looked at Leo. "And one from you, Leo. Classy. Don't worry, babe. Soon you'll have all his money and you can put him in a home where he belongs. Furniture needs to be put in storage, after all." I kept reading. Every cruel joke, every sordid detail of their affair, Every plan they had made to drain my accounts and discard me. I read their mockery of my condition, their laughter at my expense. With every word, I felt a piece of my old life, the life of a victim, fall away. Their horror was palpable. This wasn't part of their plan. The blind man, the piece of furniture, was looking them directly in the eyes and narrating the story of their betrayal. When I finished, I tossed the phone onto the couch. The silence was deafening. Clara was sobbing, fat, ugly tears streaming down her face. "Mark, I can explain." "No," I said, the single word cutting through the air like a shard of glass. "You can't. There is nothing to explain. You just explained it all, right here." I gestured to the phone. "For months, I lived in darkness. But it's funny, isn't it? I see more clearly now than I ever have before. I see exactly who you are, both of you." I walked to the front door and opened it. "Get out of my house." Leo, the coward, was the first to move, practically scrambling over himself to escape. He wouldn't even look at me. Clara remained crumpled on the floor. "Mark, please," she begged. "The only thing I want to hear from you is the sound of your lawyer's voice," I said, my voice devoid of the emotion that had been tearing me apart for months. "Now get out." She finally left, her sobs echoing down the hallway. I closed the door and leaned against it, the strength I had projected finally abandoning me. I slid down to the floor, and for the first time in a year, I cried. I cried for the man I was, for the love I thought I had, and for the profound, gaping wound of her betrayal. But as the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the window, shadows I could see in perfect, crisp detail, I knew this was not an ending. It was a painful, brutal, and necessary beginning. I had lost my wife, but I had gotten my life and my sight back, and for the first time, I could see the future clearly.